Hello again and welcome to Spotlight, the interview show on RT. I'm Al Grinov and today my guest is Samanakh Ali Malaya Krishna. In terms of regional integration in the East, India has long been one of the most important partners for the Russian Federation. Both countries are members of the BRICS group, and there are rumors that India may join the Shanghai Cooperation organization in the near future. So, how close are the two regional superpowers to creating a regional super alliance? We will ask this question to the Indian Minister of External Affairs.
India is apparently one of the biggest players in Eurasia, along with Russia and China. All three are part of the BRICS group of leading emerging economies, but they don't constitute a regional alliance. A candidate for this role is the Shanghai Cooperation organization, a multi-purpose cooperation body in Eurasia. Russia and China are full members already, but India has observer status. There are some issues to be solved before it is admitted, and one of them is its relations with Pakistan, which wants to join the SCO too.
Hello, Mr. Krishna. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being with us. First of all, we have read in the news that India has voiced serious concern over the recent launch, or attempt of the launch of a Korean satellite and the missile. The launch was condemned by the West. It was condemned by Japan, by South Korea. Do you think that there is a serious risk of an escalation in the region on the Korean Peninsula after that launch, and especially if Korea will proceed with the space program?
Well, we believe that every country must act very responsibly, and they will have to be conscious on their international commitments. And the international commitment is to maintain peace, stability in the region. And in the light of this, India would hope that North Korea is not going to take any steps which would create instability in the region, because we consider this as an extended region of India's neighborhood. Hence, we hope that meaningful talks should be immediately initiated by the concerned stakeholders, and I think there should be a relationship should be normalized.
So you sound as if you really are concerned. That's true.
Well, every country is concerned about it.
It's not just a political move.
It is not a political move. We do not have any motives when we approach this problem. We feel that it is necessary to maintain the level of confidence amongst member states.
Okay, you held talks in Moscow during this visit with your counterparts, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian Foreign Minister, and Mr. Yan Zheqi, the Foreign Minister of China. Well, is this a trilateral format, Russia, India, China, the RIC format, is it still relevant when we have the BRICS and all the media attention is dragged to the BRICS?
Well, each grouping has a significance of its own. BRICS, yes, it is one of the most important groupings which has caught the imagination of the world leaders. And RIC also has serves its own purpose, and India feels that it is extremely benefited by its association with both Russia and China in the RIC framework, in the RIC format, I had very extensive discussions yesterday with Foreign Minister Lavrov and Foreign Minister Yang Jiechi, and we have learned each other's perspective on contemporary developments across the region. We talked about Syria, we talked about the fermentations that are going on in North Africa and in various other hot spots,
The two other partners and RICS, I mean Russia and China, they also are the principal partners in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. They were actually the founders. Used to be the Shanghai Five, now it's wider. It's becoming wider and wider. And we hear rumors that India is really considering joining the Shanghai. Is it true? And when may that happen?
Well, we are right now observers to the Shanghai Cooperation. We have been participating as observers in various meetings of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and we have expressed our desire to fully engage ourselves in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And I think admission to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is by consensus, and I think there we have made known our intention, and I think they are considering our association in a fuller capacity in the Shanghai Cooperation.
When may that happen? What's your estimation?
Well,
this year?
I don't think that it would be reasonable to spell out if a time frame within which certain decisions in groupings like Shanghai Cooperation Organization can take place.
Are there any conditions under which you are joining? For example, may we see a situation that you may join the Shanghai Organization together with Pakistan simultaneously? Is that possible?
Well, this is a grouping, where it is not an exclusive club, So I think there would be a number of other countries, who would be equally interested, like India. And I think it is for the group to consider various applications or various countries which are interested, which have shown interest in becoming engaged in this process.
Your Excellency, India and Pakistan are currently making a major step in normalizing their relations. I'm reading in the wires that you are mutually facilitating the visa regime, which is a great step ahead. Does it mean that your country has obtained or is about to obtain Pakistan's commitment to find and punish the people who were behind the 26/11 attack in Mumbai? Do you work together on that? I mean, your secret services, your officers.
Well, we believe that we need to develop cordial relations, normalize our relationship with Pakistan. I think the dialogue had initiated, and the dialogue had made certain progress. Well, that's when the brutal attack heinous attack on Mumbai, which upset the whole equilibrium in that region. We were very sad, and we were also very upset. And we are still recovering from the after effects of that attack on Mumbai. We are still insisting on Pakistan that it is necessary to make a thorough investigation and bring to justice the brains behind that Mumbai attack. Well, they have taken into custody a few unknown names, But we have our Home Minister has, through his dossiers, has provided in what we consider to be very credible set of documents which will pinpoint the involvement of, for example, men like Hafiz Said.
You believe he was the mastermind?
Who India considers as a terrorist, and he was the brain behind the Mumbai attack. And if you leave him, and if you still convey to India that you are investigating into those who are responsible for this attack, well, that doesn't really convey any conviction. Nonetheless, we would like our relationship to improve. I think there have been a number of steps which have been taken by both countries to normalize our relations. The Prime Ministers of the two countries have met, and I had invited Foreign Minister Hina Rabina Kar to Delhi, and I am myself planning to return that visit sometime in the course of this year. And I hope these high-level visits, and very recently President Zardari was on a religious tour of India, and he was on his way to Ajmer to offer prayers in the Dargah, and the Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, invited him for lunch, and then we had substantive discussions.
So it's moving.
And President Zardari and Prime Minister Gilani have both invited Prime Minister Manmohan Singh to visit Pakistan, and I think Dr. Manmohan Singh is considering very seriously a visit to Pakistan. So all these steps are going further to reduce the trust deficit, which was dividing our two nations. And hopefully, I think we should be moving in a positive manner to understand each other better.
Well, this is very positive, because you might remember that Henry Kissinger once said that if a third world war would start, it would probably start in Kashmir. And he called it the most dangerous place on earth. So today, do you think it's not the case anymore?
Well, I hope Mr. Kissinger will be permanently wrong,
I hope so too.
In the larger interest of peace and stability in our region. We do not think that neither Pakistan nor India would be adventurous enough to embark upon any such misadventure.
Says Somanahali Malaya Krishna, the Indian Minister of External Affairs. Spotlight will be back soon after we take a short break, so stay with us. Don't go. Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Al Gurnov, and just a reminder that today we're talking to Somanahali Malaya Krishna, the Indian Minister of External Affairs. Your Excellency, India has recently become the biggest consumer of Iran's oil. May India, under some circumstances, join the embargo plan against Iran, which the United States is insisting upon?
Well, India has a matter of policy. It does not go by sanctions imposed other than the United Nations, sanctions imposed by the Security Council of the United Nations. We have India has civilizational connections, historical connections with Iran. Our relationship has been very useful, very productive, and very cordial. And apart from, they are one of the main source of our crude oil supplies, our petroleum products, and so we feel that every country, including Iran, has the right to develop its resources, to tap nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, because India itself is conscious of its own energy requirements. Energy security is one of the securities which we want every country to enjoy. And if Iran wants to develop nuclear power and other associated activities, I think it is entitled to it. But at the same time, they should be in touch with the International Atomic Energy Agency, and they should keep them fully informed of what their plans are, what their motives are, and so that keeping them in the dark will not be very helpful.
Right, but what we get from reading the press here in Moscow, we get an impression that India in general, and the Indian government is not worried about the Iranian nuclear program as much as the Americans, or for example the Europeans and the American NATO partners. Is that true, or you are cautious about that?
Well, every country has its own perspective. Well, if other countries have their own perspective, India is entitled to have its own perspective. And from our perspective, we look at Iran and then we say that as long as they are not going to endanger the peace and stability in the region, I think we are quite comfortable with that.
Let's talk about Syria. What's India's position towards the situation in Syria? Would you admit any form of foreign intervention, say to secure the humanitarian corridor, if the Kofi Annan plan doesn't work?
Well, just about an hour back, I was talking to Ambassador Kofi Annan. I think the world must be thankful that Mr. Kofi Annan agreed to be the special envoy, and he is looking into bringing about a ceasefire. And Kofi Annan, with the huge reputation that he has and the good track record with which he has, I think we should allow him time, space to succeed in Syria. I think he would be doing a great service to this region as a whole and the world as a whole if he succeeds in bringing a meaningful ceasefire immediately, and then working out to a lasting solution, to bringing in all the stakeholders to discussion and then consultations.
Well, what we've been talking about is, of course, news, but I've started this program by saying that India has been and still is the major partner of Russia in the region. So everybody's waiting when India and Russia will sign a new trade agreement. Can you give us a date on that, or at least approximately?
Well, I have come here to attend the RIC meetings. And at the same time, it so happens that this happens to be the 65th year anniversary of our establishing diplomatic relationship with the then Soviet Union and the present Russian Federation. We have gained enormously in our association with Russia. Earlier, as the Soviet Union, they contributed in a very big manner for India to become become industrialized, and they helped us in our science and technology advancement, and they have been helping us in our nuclear power establishments, and so this association has been one of the most constructive, purposeful, mutually beneficial associations. That's why this is a privileged relationship. The kind of relationship that we have with the Russian Federation is a privileged relationship, and it's my desire to continue this, to enlarge this, to widen this, and thereby move the two countries closer together than ever before.
But we still don't have the date on this new trade agreement. Yeah, you're still working. You're still working on it, right?
Negotiations are on.
And last question: India is one of the greatest buyers of weaponry on the planet, and as far as I know, about 85% of weaponry bought from Russia, from the Soviet Union, from Russia. Now, Russia seems to be sort of losing its positions on the Indian market. Do you think that India will and Russia may come up with a new agreement on arms trade in the near future?
Well, I think it is one of the most sustainable ongoing defense relationship that we have with the Russian Federation. I think that is going to continue, and as I said, that we need to enlarge this and we need to deepen this. I think it is my endeavor to do that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krishna. And just a reminder that my guest today was the Indian Minister of External Affairs. And that's it for now from all of us here. Spotlight will be back with more first-hand comments on what's going on in and outside Russia. Until then, stay on RT and take care.